Imani Tech vehicles are amongst some of the most popular armored cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. But it's with obvious reason. Imani Tech vehicles, for the most part, are all able to be fitted with armor plating and missile lock-on jammer. What that means is that an Oppressor Mark II can't just randomly blow you up if it flew over you in a public lobby. Because A, it won't even be able to get a lock on you, but B, even if it somehow did, it would still take 10 homing missiles to take you out, which is just a ridiculous amount. I've said it in the past, I am yet to die in an Imani Tech vehicle to another online player. They are just incredibly durable. But there's obviously a lot of opinions on what are the best Imani Tech vehicles. I can tell you that if you're playing on next generation, these two here are among the best when it comes to speed. We have the Gradiatali GTO Stinger TT and the Buffalo EVX. The Stinger TT can go 170 miles per hour, and the Buffalo EVX can go 145 with their respective HSW upgrades. The only problem is they are insanely expensive. To get your hands on these vehicles, the HSW and Imani Tech upgrades, you're going to be looking at around $5 million each, which is kind of crazy. So that is something to keep in mind. If you're looking for a cheaper yet amazing all-rounder, then you're probably going to find yourself more gravitating towards the Buffalo EVX. I think we can all agree the Buffalo EVX is just one of the best all-round Imani Tech vehicles. It's a four-seater, meaning that whether you're playing with friends or you're playing solo, it's always going to have plenty of room. Not only that, it's quite fast, going 126 miles per hour. It's in fact one of the fastest Imani Tech vehicles in top speed and lap time. It's only beaten out by these four vehicles you can see in front of it here, three of which have HSW. Not only does it have all those capabilities, but it's one of the only Imani Tech cars in the faster range, which has semi-bulletproof glass, meaning that it's still pretty durable in that category as well. So the STX is quite impressive, but there's one Imani Tech car which a lot of people don't even really know has Imani Tech capabilities. Rockstar put it into the game under the radar in the Agents of Sabotage DLC, and I can tell you that it is the best Imani Tech car in the game. What's funny is I recorded a video yesterday, which I'll be posting later today, on all the Imani Tech cars, their top speed, my opinion on them, and I almost forgot to put this vehicle in the video because even I forgot that Rockstar basically gave this Imani Tech capabilities, but indeed, it's the Doco Death. You see, in the latest update of the game, Agents of Sabotage, Rockstar added about 50 vehicles with missile lock-on jammer. This is one of those vehicles. We can see that there is an Imani Tech tab, and in this Imani Tech tab, there you go. I have a missile lock-on jammer. Protects your personal vehicle from homing missile lock-on. That means if somebody in an Oppressor Mark II or a Sparrow or Raiju is flying overhead, they're not even going to be able to fire a homing missile at you unless they turn off homing missiles and then just try to guess where you're driving and hit you. But obviously the Doco Death's an armored vehicle, so that's not really much of a problem. Now the upgrade itself is going to cost a lot at 400,000, but that's really not a problem because the Doco Death itself is one of the cheapest vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. Sorting by price on Warstock, Cash and Carry, it's free. So literally all you have to do is buy an agency, get the customization shop, and then put on the missile lock-on jammer, and you've got what I consider to be the best Imani Tech vehicle in the game. You can't even say it's not Imani Tech because it literally says Imani Tech in the upgrades tab. So what exactly allows the Doco Death to be better than any of the other vehicles I talked about? Well, let's go over the advantages. First of all, the Doco Death is quite heavy. For example, you can see that it pushes cars out of its way very, very easily. Even if it's not a small car, it still easily outweighs any other vehicle on the street. This is actually huge, especially when you're completing missions. How many times when you're doing a mission do you have a moment where an NPC drives directly into your car, stops you dead in your tracks, and then blasts you with an SMG in the face? Especially in auto shop missions, I can tell you it is so incredibly annoying. Not that you can use this in auto shop missions, but it's very annoying when you're doing missions and you have that happen. The Doco Death never has that issue because when you're driving, you just smash right into whatever it is. When I was doing the Criminal Mastermind Challenge with friends, this was the car I used because it solved that problem every single time. The Doco Death is also fairly fast at 115 miles per hour, with actually a rather decent lap time due to the weight that it features. It's not bad in the muscles category at all. And then the main advantage I can tell you, in my opinion, when it comes to the Doco Death, is the bulletproof resistance. Every single Imani Tech vehicle struggles in bullet resistance. Sure, they feature semi-bulletproof glass, something like the Buffalo STX, but at the end of the day, one bullet from a minigun will instantly cut through that semi-bulletproof glass. Like, not even a single struggle in the world. We can see if I shoot at the Buffalo STX with a normal gun, the glass will not break. It will just kind of make a little indent. Now, after you shoot the glass 20 or so times, it will actually break, and you can see that we've cut right through the glass. We can do that here again. After about 20 or so bullets, the glass does eventually shatter. However, if you use something like a minigun, watch the glass. One shot from a minigun completely shatters any glass the Doco Death has. If you also have armor-piercing rounds, which is the blue mags, you will also cut directly through, although it appears that the gun I have with armor-piercing rounds does not have any bullets. But you can see what I mean. The main disadvantage of the semi-bulletproof glass is that it's still very easy to cut through, and if you're in a mission, while it does provide some survivability, at the end of the day, it's going to be cut through pretty quickly. Unlike the STX, the Doco Death does not feature glass. We can see when aiming in here that it actually has no windows at all. But what it does feature is armor paneling all around the front, the sides, and even the rear. This armor paneling will eat any bullet fired at it. We can see that here. This all counts as armor, same for the top, even same for the little sides right here. Obviously, this whole chunk is completely armored, and even the intake also counts as protection. The sides does have a weak spot, which is the grating, but once again, any of the armor paneling counts as full protection, and the complete rear is entirely bulletproof. This is the only Imani Tech vehicle in the game that features any sort of protection against bullets, and not to mention, it is the only Imani Tech vehicle in the game which has a completely bulletproof rear. And that means when you're going up against NPCs, this is nearly impossible for them to damage you. And even if you're against online players, if you angle the Duke properly, it's almost impossible to kill you. You can see where my character's head is through that little slit there. So pretend that an enemy is shooting at me. If I turn my Duke at a pretty sharp angle like this, we can see that my character is completely invisible to these NPCs, right? They cannot shoot me because my head is behind a big chunk of armor. There's only that tiny little slit they can hit me through. But here's the advantage. I can still shoot easily out of that window. You can see that I can shoot all the way off to an angle over here, all the way around. So what that means is if you're a smart player and you're up against even other online players, if you angle your Duke properly at about a 45 to 50 degree angle, it completely shields your character from any damage taken. And in return, you can still fire. I should mention that this damage includes fire from a minigun. And if you're ever worried about taking damage, you can just turn your Duke backwards, and then the entire rear of it is completely bulletproof, as I mentioned. Which means that, again, any online players have zero possibility of killing you. The Duke, even though it does not feature any Imani Tech armor upgrades, still has the survivability of 6 explosions before being taken out. So it's not like you have to worry about somebody just whipping out a explosive device and killing you. But we can see that if I pull out the minigun, look, this is all still completely bulletproof. It doesn't matter where you shoot, you're not going to cut through this. And because the Duke has obviously increased levels of protection, a minigun's not going to blow it up either. The craziest part is, as I mentioned, the Doco Death is free. I mean, sure, you need to have an agency to get the missile lock-on jammer, which is going to cost you over $2 million. But the agency is an incredibly good business, even for beginners. So if you don't own one yet, I'd recommend to get an agency. And the best part is, even if you don't have the agency yet, the Doco Death is still an amazing vehicle. It just doesn't have the missile lock-on jammer, but it still has the ability to survive 6 homing missiles because it doesn't require an agency to get that armor. So that's actually a massive benefit. There's a lot of players which only focus on some of the more expensive vehicles, and they forget that some of these cheap vehicles that Rockstar has had in the game for years are still absolutely amazing. I legitimately do think that the Doco Death beats out any Imani Tech vehicle, because at the end of the day, sure, the STX is a little faster, but in terms of protection, which is the major thing that I'm looking for when using an Imani Tech vehicle, look how large the glass is on this vehicle. One shot from a minigun and you're dead. Where in the Duke, you can completely hide your character's silhouette apart from that tiny little slit which you saw. as long as you angle it properly. So you can let me know your personal feelings in the comments down below. I want to hear what you have to say. But the whole goal for my channel is to let you guys know things that you might not have, or things you may have been discounting, or obviously if you're a beginner, how to get your hands on the Duke and turn it into an absolute beast. So as always, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, other vehicles that you may have been sleeping on, make sure you click that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.